My wife drained my account to buy her male best friend a Tesla. When I confronted her, she didn't care. So, I took everything and divorced her. Now, she's desperately trying to play the victim. A bit about me, 34M, work in finance, relevant later, and up until recently, I thought I had a pretty solid marriage with my wife Sarah, 32F. We'd been together for 7 years, married for 5. No kids, thank God. When we first met, Sarah was this vibrant, beautiful woman who seemed genuinely interested in me, not just my wallet. I know that sounds conceited as hell, but I'd been burned before by gold diggers, so I was always a bit cautious. Sarah seemed different though. She had a decent job at a marketing firm, her own apartment, and didn't immediately try to upgrade her lifestyle when we started dating. All green flags, right? Well, about a year into our relationship, she introduced me to her best friend Matt. Now, I'm not usually the jealous type. I've had platonic female friends my whole life, and I get it. But something about Matt just rubbed me the wrong way from day one. This dude would text Sarah at all hours. He'd show up at our place unannounced. He'd make these inside jokes with Sarah right in front of me that I wasn't supposed to understand. And whenever I brought it up to Sarah, she'd get defensive. Matt's like a brother to me, Alex. He's been there for me since college, way before I met you. You're being paranoid. There's literally nothing between us. If you can't handle me having male friends, that's a you problem. And like a complete idiot, I let it go. You know why? Because I trusted her. Because I thought, hey, maybe I am being that insecure guy. Because I didn't want to be controlling. All the shit Reddit always tells you not to be, right? Side note, our rescue German Shepherd, Duke, hated Matt. Should have been my first clue. That dog was the best judge of character, this giant 90-pound softie who would let toddlers climb all over him but would growl whenever Matt came through our door. Dogs know things, man. Anyway, we got married, bought a nice house in the suburbs of Chicago, one of those old craftsman styles with the creaky floors that I'd been slowly renovating, and settled into married life. I made good money as an investment advisor, enough that Sarah could quit her marketing job to pursue her passions, which apparently meant shopping, brunch with friends, and starting a lifestyle blog that got maybe 12 views a month. I didn't mind. I liked taking care of her, and we had more than enough. We had this arrangement where I handled all the finances. Not because I'm some controlling asshole, but because Sarah literally asked me to. You're so much better with money, babe. I'd just stress about it. So I paid the bills, managed our investments, and gave Sarah access to our joint account for her expenses. Fast forward to about 6 months ago. I'm at work when I get this low balance notification from my bank. Now, I keep meticulous track of our finances, occupational hazard lol, so immediately I'm like WTF? I pull up our bank statement, expecting to see maybe a duplicate charge or a subscription I forgot to cancel. Instead, I see a $42,000 transaction flagged as vehicle purchase, Tesla Motors. My heart literally stopped. I knew damn well I hadn't bought a car. And Sarah already drove a brand new Audi Q7 that I'd paid for just last year. So who the hell was this for? I click on the transaction details, and there it is, the name on the invoice, Matthew Reynolds. Yeah. Matt. Sarah's brother like best friend. My wife had just emptied our joint savings account to buy another man a car without even telling me. Looking back, there had been signs. Little comments Sarah would drop into conversation. Matt's car is falling apart, poor thing. The repair shop said it's not even worth fixing. I just wish I could help him out, you know? He's been having such a tough time since he got laid off. If I had my own money, I'd just buy him a car myself. At the time, I shrugged them off. Now, it was crystal clear. She had been testing the waters, seeing how I'd react to the idea. And since I never flipped out, she went ahead and did it. Here's where a normal person would immediately call their wife screaming. But my hands were shaking too much for that. I wasn't even angry yet, I was too shocked, too focused on what this actually meant. Because Sarah hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a choice. She deliberately decided that her friend deserved my money more than I did. So I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just waited. And when she finally walked through the door that night, laughing at something on her phone, probably texting Matt about his new car, I asked as casually as I could, "Hey babe, did you buy someone a car today?" She barely looked up, just tossed her Gucci bag, another gift from me, on our couch and shrugged. Oh, yeah. That was it. Like she just picked up milk from the store. I stared at her, waiting for an explanation. An apology. A shred of guilt. But instead, she sighed, walked over, and kissed me on the cheek. Then she said something that made my blood go cold. "Relax, babe. You'll make it back." She actually rolled her eyes at me, like I was being ridiculous. "Stop being cheap. It's not like we can't afford it." That was the moment, right then and there, when I stopped seeing Sarah as my wife and started seeing her as a problem to solve. I took a slow breath. "So let me get this straight. You took my money, bought Matt a car, and didn't think you should tell me?" She tilted her head like she was confused. "Why would I? I mean, it's just money, Alex. It's not like you're struggling." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she had no idea what she had just done. I could have ripped into her right then and there, told her exactly how messed up she was. But instead, I just smiled. "You know what?" I said, shaking my head. "You're right. It's just money." Her shoulders relaxed. She thought I was letting it go. She had no idea I was already ending our marriage in my head. "See?" She grinned. "I knew you'd understand." "Oh, sweetheart. You have no idea." The next day, while Sarah was at her hot yoga class, which I also paid for, I went to work. Not my actual job, my new job of systematically dismantling my wife's comfortable life. First step, I cut off her access to my money. She had no idea how much freedom I'd given her financially. But now, I removed her from all joint accounts. I canceled her credit cards. I transferred assets into protected accounts she couldn't touch. And the best part? I made sure none of it triggered an alert. Because Sarah never checked balances, she just swiped and assumed it would go through. The next step was even more satisfying. Sarah thought she had secured a win for Matt. But what she didn't realize is that she'd bought the car in my name. Which meant I had every legal right to take it back. So I hired a repo company, told them exactly where to find Matt's new ride. Sarah had tagged him in an Instagram post with the car. These people are not smart, and within 24 hours, that shiny new Tesla Model 3? Gone. I wasn't just planning to leave Sarah, I was planning to make sure she got nothing. So I spent the next few days documenting her spending habits, saving screenshots of her messages about the car, collecting every piece of evidence I needed for a rock-solid divorce. Meanwhile, Sarah was still clueless. Still laughing, posting selfies with Matt and their friends at expensive restaurants, all on my dime, acting like her entire world wasn't about to collapse. The day before everything went down, Sarah posted a selfie with Matt and some of their friends at some rooftop bar downtown. The caption read, "Nothing better than spoiling your bestie." I just smiled because tomorrow, she was going to find out exactly what loyalty really meant. Sarah had no idea she was living her last day of comfort. While she was sipping $18 cocktails and taking selfies with Matt, I was systematically dismantling her entire life. She just didn't know it yet. 6:45 a.m., it started with the garage. Sarah always went to morning yoga with her friends. Every day she'd strut outside, Lululemon gym bag in hand, designer sunglasses perched on her head, pretending she was some kind of influencer. But today, she walked into the garage and found nothing. Her Audi. Gone. Not stolen, not misplaced, just missing. I was upstairs, sipping my coffee and scrolling through emails when I heard it, the frantic footsteps, the door swinging open, then, Alex. I didn't move. Didn't even look up. Just took another sip and waited. Seconds later, she came storming in, face pale, phone in hand. "Where the hell is my car?" I finally looked at her, as if just noticing she was there. Then I said, completely calm, "Repossessed." She blinked once, twice, then laughed. Genuinely laughed like I just told her a joke. "What?" I set my coffee down. "It's gone, Sarah. Just like my money." That wiped the smile right off her face. 6:50 a.m., her face twisted in anger. "You're kidding, right? This is some dumb joke." I just shook my head. "Nope." She scoffed and whipped out her phone. I already knew what she was doing, checking her banking app. And right on cue, I heard it, the sharp, gasping inhale. "What the?" she muttered. "Why isn't my card working?" She started tapping frantically, flipping through accounts. Then her eyes snapped to me. Pure, raw panic. "Alex, what did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, watching her like she was a bug under glass. Then I said, in the most casual tone possible, "I cut you off." She laughed again, except this time it wasn't amused. It was hysterical. You can't do this, Alex. We're married." I tilted my head. "Are we?" Then, as if just remembering, I reached into the drawer next to me, pulled out a manila envelope, and slid it across the counter. "Here. You might want to read that." Her hand shook as she grabbed it. The second she saw the title page, her mouth dropped open. "Divorce petition." She stumbled back, clutching the papers like they just burned her. "No," she whispered. No. You're overreacting. We'll fix this." I took another slow sip of my coffee. "There's nothing to fix." She shook her head violently, then lunged for my arm, gripping it. "Alex, listen to me. It's just a car. It's not that serious." I yanked my arm away. "You're right. It's not that serious." Then I leaned in. "That's why you can go ask Matt to pay your bills now." And just like that, her face crumbled. Because she knew, Matt wasn't going to do a damn thing for her. 7 a.m., she ran to grab her phone. I already knew who she was calling. Matt. The man she stole from me to help. The same guy she was posting selfies with literally the night before. She put the phone to her ear, pacing like a caged animal. 1 ring. 2 rings. 3. Then, "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I actually smirked. Matt had blocked her. She tried again. Same result. Then she tried texting him. And when she saw the little not delivered error, she lost it. 7:05 a.m., oh my god. She dropped her phone on the counter, both hands in her hair, breathing erratically. I just watched. Because I knew exactly what was happening in her head. Reality was crashing down. Her money? Gone. Her security? Gone. Her best friend? Gone. And for the first time ever, she was completely, utterly alone. 7:10 a.m., she turned back to me, tears in her eyes, and tried one last time. Alex, please. Just let's talk, okay? I tilted my head. Talk about what? Her voice broke. Us. Fixing this. I swear I'll change. I didn't even hesitate. No, you won't. She let out a shaky breath. Alex, I love you. I smiled. Then I said the last words I'd ever say to her. No, you love my money. And with that, I grabbed my keys and walked out, leaving her to deal with the wreckage of her own making. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? That a normal person would take the L and move on? But Sarah wasn't just entitled, she was delusional. And nothing proved that more than what she did next. Because after everything, after stealing from me, lying to my face, and getting completely cut off, she actually thought she could win in court. I was at my lawyer's office finalizing the last details of the divorce when I got the text. You think you've won, but you'll regret this. See you in court. I actually laughed, because I had already prepared for this. She thought she was about to make some grand comeback, but in reality, she was about to get publicly, legally humiliated. The day of the court hearing, I walked in feeling calm and in control. Sarah looked furious, like she'd spent the last week screaming into a pillow. Her lawyer stood up, all confidence, and started arguing that she had contributed to the marriage and deserved financial support. That she had a right to some of my assets. That I had sabotaged her financial security by cutting her off. I almost felt bad for the guy. Because when my lawyer stood up, she ripped their case apart like tissue paper. We had a prenup. Sarah had never worked during our marriage. I had concrete evidence that she had spent my money recklessly. And the best part? I had proof that she had gifted another man with my money without my knowledge or consent. The judge barely even looked at her before saying, Mrs. Taylor, your claim is denied. Just like that. In under 10 minutes, it was over. She sat there, completely frozen, like she just realized she was never winning this. Then she turned to her lawyer and whispered, That's it? He shrugged, already packing up his briefcase, because there was nothing else to argue. And me? I just stood up, buttoned my suit, and walked right past her without saying a single word. Because she wasn't worth another second of my time. It's been about 8 months since everything went down, and life has actually been pretty good. I moved out of our old house, too many memories, and into a high-rise downtown with an amazing view of the lake. Duke adjusted surprisingly well to apartment life. He's actually less anxious without Sarah around and has made friends with basically everyone in the building. The doormen keep treats for him and he's become something of a celebrity in our dog park. I heard through mutual friends that Sarah is now living in a tiny studio apartment in a sketchy part of town, barely making ends meet. Her friends abandoned her because she was no longer useful to them. And the cherry on top? She had to get a job for the first time in years. And what was it? A customer service rep at a call center. The same woman who once rolled her eyes at the idea of working was now stuck answering phones for a living. Justice doesn't miss. Last month, I got one last text from her. I miss you, Alex. Can we just talk? I stared at it for a second, then blocked her number. Because Sarah was just another bad investment, and I never waste time on sunk costs. As for Matt? I heard he's driving a beat-up Honda now. His social media is private, and according to mutual friends, he's telling everyone that Sarah screwed him over. Guess loyalty doesn't matter so much when you're not getting free stuff anymore, huh? The craziest part of all this? As much as it sucked to discover my marriage was basically a fraud, I'm actually happier now. I've started dating again, very casually, trust issues, obviously, picked up rock climbing at a gym near my new place, and reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. I've also become way more careful about who I let into my life. The red flags I ignored with Sarah? Never again. TL, DR, wife stole $42,000 from our joint account to buy her best friend a car without telling me. When confronted, she showed zero remorse. So I systematically dismantled her entire life, repossessed both cars, froze all accounts, and divorced her ass. Now she's broke, working a job she hates, and the friend she stole for wants nothing to do with her. Edit, holy shit, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and comments. A few common questions I'm seeing. 1. Yes, the prenup was solid. My lawyer made sure of it, and Sarah signed it willingly because she never thought I'd actually enforce it. 2. No, Matt and Sarah weren't sleeping together, that I know of. I think it was more that she desperately wanted his approval and thought buying his friendship was the way to do it. Still messed up either way. 3. Yes, Duke is doing great. Dog tax, imagine a photo of a happy German shepherd with his tongue hanging out here. 4. No, I'm not planning to take her back, no matter how many sad texts she sends. That bridge isn't just burned, it's atomized. 5. For those asking about the legality of repossessing her car, it was in my name. I was the sole owner. So yes, completely legal. Has anyone else dealt with financial betrayal in a relationship? How did you move past the trust issues? Still working on that part.